Check. Hello. Hello, mic check. Hello. 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 Check. Hello.
Hello. A very good morning to one and all present here and to our online participants. It is indeed my honor to welcome you all on behalf of the Institute of Architecture and Planning to the urgent international conference on Future is Urban.
Erasmus funded Urgent project aims to promote green and blue infrastructure and nature-based solutions for resilient, climate-friendly and livable cities in India and Mongolia through ICT enhanced tertiary education linked to labor markets and wider stakeholder cities. It enhances multiple disciplines like life sciences, geography, landscape, agriculture, architecture, urban planning, civil engineering, etc. through its participating universities. The Urgent project partners with 5 countries Germany, Italy, Estonia, Mongolia, and India, spread across 16 different institutes University of Bremen, Martin Luther University, University of Catania, Estonian University of Life Sciences, National University of Mongolia, Khovd University, Mongolian University of Life Sciences, Urban Planning and Research Institute, National Garden Park of Ulaanbaatar, Jawaharlal National University, Nirma University, Pondicherry University, Sher Kashmir University of Agricultural Sciences and Technology of Kashmir, National Institute of Urban Affairs, and Gujarat International Finance Tech City Company Limited.
We humbly request our director, Professor Utpal Sharma, and respected Swati ma'am to invite our chief guest, Dr. D.S. Meshram, Director General of Nirma University, Dr. Anup Singh, Estonian representative Professor Kalev Sepp, Mongolian representative Professor Ochir Altansuk, Italian representative Professor Riccardo Privitera, and Indian representative Professor P.K. Joshi for lighting of the lamp and kindly be seated on the stage. Thank you, everyone. I would now request Shrishti Busar to please lead us through the Saraswati Vandana.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेषजाड्यापहा.
Thank you. I would now request Utpal sir to felicitate our guests, starting with our chief guest, Dr. D.S. Meshram. Our Director General, Dr. Anup Singh. Professor Kalev Sep. Professor Ochiral Tansuk. Professor Ricardo Privitera. And Professor P.K. Joshi.
Nirma University is one of India's leading universities based in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. The university was established in the year 2003 and is spearheading and establishing new frontiers in constructing great collections and transference of knowledge. It aims at shaping a better future for mankind by developing effective and socially responsible individuals and organizations. With great pleasure and pride, we are happy to share that the university has been accredited with A+ grade by the National Assessment and Accreditation Council (NAC). The Institute of Architecture and Planning, Nirma University, was established in the year 2014 along the vision of Padma Shri Dr. Karsanbhai K. Patel and under the leadership of reputed professional and academician Dr. Utpal Sharma. The institute aims at imparting high-quality education in the field of designing built environment and human settlements through the disciplines of architecture and planning. Since then, 4 batches of Bachelor of Architecture and 3 batches of Bachelor of Planning have graduated from the institute under the guidance of our dedicated and experienced faculty members.
Professor Utpal Sharma, our Director, Institute of Architecture and Planning, is a beloved teacher and mentor of the family at our institute. He possesses over 30 years of experience in architecture, urban design, housing, and planning, and brings a unique blend of research and project experience to the classroom. I now request Utpal sir to please come on stage and introduce the urgent project and ICFU 2022 conference to all of us.
Good morning, everybody. All delegates from our partner university, other participants, Dr. Meshram, who is the chief guest, and all the other members of the dais. So the theme that we have identified for the conference, the future is urban. We made it like a name. We did one last year. It was a great success, but only the verticals under the future is urban. It has now changed because now we are talking about resilience, nature-based solutions, and governance. Earlier it was more on socio-economic development, transportation, housing. There are other 5 different verticals, and it was done earlier one done totally on a hybrid or totally on an online mode because that was the COVID time, and we still managed to do it. And we had fantastic, response from all over the world. We have put together kind of a proceedings of the conference. Fortunately, the proceedings have come yesterday, and we will find a way to release it today, and then we send it to the participants. And in a similar way, proceedings of this conference, this time we are doing it slightly differently. We're getting the abstract that is being reviewed. And now after the presentation, we ask them to submit the papers, and by give 2 or 3 months time, and then we'll again publish it as academic proceedings, and it will also be converted into book. Selected articles will be converted into Scopus Index book by Routledge. So we have tied up everything so that the conference will lead to some good quality publication. And that was done for the last year, and we are doing it again. As a part of this, we have fantastic response. Okay. Almost 200 abstracts, but then we scan through, and finally maybe around 150 people will present, and slowly it will become slightly less. But team on nature-based solutions, our planning, resilience has found many takers, and a lot of people are doing research in this field. And I hope it will be a great success. The whole idea about future is urban. It is already a kind of a slogan in rest of the world, like US, Brazil, other parts, because they're already more than 80% urban. India is relatively, because we did have the census in 2021, we are still following 2011 figure. So we are about 31% urban, but we know that roughly now it has reached about 40%. And within India, the level of urbanization is different. Gujarat is one of those states, maybe high, almost 50%. Tamil Nadu will be even higher, where you go to place like Bihar, Assam, Orissa, then maybe urbanization is less than 20%. So India is similarly different parts of the world, so different levels of urbanization, where the rural is more prominent and somewhere urban is more prominent. Idea is to integrate rural and urban together. And eventually, there's a proof that more urban we are, better is the economic growth. Though there are issues of distribution and slums and poverty, but world is moving towards urban. So we are trying to find out a way how to kind of structure it in a way it will create benefit for all the people. And that's the kind of various themes under which we are organizing the conference. Now, in India, we have Professor Meshram here. He's going to elaborate about national education policy, planners, etc., etc. Basically, what we are saying is that this 30% urban people is producing 70 to 75% of the GDP of the country. But the rural is more in number. You need the rural people to vote for you to win the election. But their contribution to GDP has not been slowly going down, which is not a very good idea. We have to find out a way to do more productive rural development as well. But urban share is high. But the issue in particularly in urban, that in Indian constitution doesn't know the whole urban idea is not as a part of the government of India kind of a mandate. Urban is left to the state and to the municipality. And all the money that will come through GST, income tax, etc., it goes to the center. And finally, they distribute the money across various heads. So there's no money for urban. Now, government is realizing, so they're giving some money in the name of urban renewal mission, smart cities mission, etc. But it is inadequate compared to what is actually needed. We cannot really build the infrastructure of our town only with property tax. Okay, that is not even enough to clean up the street and do the maintenance of the regular infrastructure. Forget about doing any capital expenditure. Something that contributes, urban will contribute 70 to 80% of the GDP, should have enough funding for the urban development. And that's a kind of a struggle that is going on at various forums. Until that is resolved, the urban will remain a problem. Other thing that is happening is that, major issue of urban is the issue of land. Because you need the land for urban infrastructure, particularly road, open spaces and amenities. We have the same old British, legacy of acquiring land to create those facilities, and people are not willing to give their land, so it finally goes to the court, and you get 70,000, and we have ITPI, and there will be another equal number of people who are not not registered, but we are totally inadequate in terms of the number of people that are required to really create a urban structure of our city. Okay. And we are struggling to how to make it happen. Okay. These are the three major challenges of the profession. And sometimes we get blamed that planning schools are not producing enough planners for the country. But if we produce them, they are not finding placement because the old bureaucratic sector is not allowing the planner to get a job. Our job is being done by other people who are not professional. So that struggle is going on, which ITPI is also leading, and we are trying to solve the problem. With this scenario, this conference is very important. We are talking about urbanization is happening, whether we like it or not, in the form of megacity, in the name of 30 to 40% people living in slums, inadequate infrastructure. That's what is happening. We are almost doing firefighting. Forget about talking about making a new city plan, city of the future. but on ground situation is not very good. Okay, and plus we are following some planning models. Again, because of British legacy, low rise, low density, spread out cities, garden cities of tomorrow, satellite town, none of them are working. We have to find our own solution to our own problem. And I think that this kind of conferences and the discussion that take place, hopefully it will create a framework that what kind of planning we should do for our cities and towns. And that's a kind of challenge that we have to take. We cannot copy paste somebody else's solution to our situation. And I hope we're going to discuss all of this in our conference. And I welcome you all, some of them who are physically present, and the two-thirds which is basically online mode, go on for 2 days, 5 different parallel sessions. And I hope we'll have very interesting discussion. Plus, we have delegates from our Asian and European partners. We'll have separate discussions with them, and we want to learn from one another. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Anup Singh is an eminent academician and thought leader. He did his PhD from the University of Allahabad and postdoctoral fellowship from the University of
about future and then little bit about urban. If you talk about future, future can be infinite. So we need to put something finite on the infinite. So I will take the next 25 years, which our Prime Minister talks about fondly, and he calls it the Amrit Kal, right? So the Amrit Kal may be nectar age, it may be golden age. So the intent of the government is that, look, India is going to be transformed in the next 25 years. However, there is a little difference between nectar and poison, right? The source is the same in Indian mythology, right? So if you don't do a good job, this nectar can be converted into a poison. And let me explain you what I'm trying to say. That as Professor Sharma talked about, that 30% of our population is urban. And that means roughly 40 crore people, 400 million, right? After 25 years, the population of India is going to be around 162 crores. That means, in millions, it would be 10 times more. And 50% of the population is going to be urban. Now, 50% of 162 crores would be around 80 crores. So today, the urban population is 40 crores, and 20 years from now, the urban population would become 80 crores. That means we are going to create another urban India, right? So our current urban India is still in trouble. And if we create another urban India, what is going to happen and how we can manage it well? That is the question probably this conference needs to address. The second is urban. So we have our own concept, Western concept of urban, right? For example, if you see Los Angeles, the population of Los Angeles is 1/3 of the population of New Delhi, but the area of Los Angeles is at least 3 times bigger than area of Delhi, right? So if with that concept, it is not going to work. What is going to work? Probably our lessons from Japan, because Japan is one country like India that does not have skills, but they have done a good job. So 3 things have to be considered. One is that the future is vertical, right? For example, I visited long back a university in Taiwan, and this university was just in 5 acres. But the building was 30-story building, right? And it was serving the purpose. So the future has to be vertical because we don't have land, right? If we don't go for vertical, then we can't create the space for people. So, going vertical has its own problems. We need concrete, we need steel, we need technology from where it is going to come. The second thing is the future has to be technological. A lot of problems that we are facing, can be solved through technology, right? So how do we use different kind of technology? I'm not just talking about information technology, construction technology, information technology, communication technology, health technology, right? How to take care of health of so many people? How to take care of education of so many people, right? It is going to be a challenge. Third thing is that rural India had its own social problems. For example, uh, casteism was and is very prevalent. However, communal disharmony is not the characteristics of rural India, but communal disharmony is characteristics of urban India. And there is danger that it may go up. So we solve one social problem and other social problems come. And the related issue is that how do we make this urban friendly for women? If you see the participation of women in workforce in India, it is around 13% in urban India. If you see their participation in the world, right, it would be anywhere between 35% to 45%, right? So we need to enhance it. When we enhance it, then what kind of jobs we are going to create for them? What kind of security we are going to create for them? Because developed countries have failed in providing secure environment for women. Go to any developed country, and the worst fear of a woman is rape, right? In spite of prosperity, in spite of facility, they have not been able to create a safe environment for women. So if you want more participation of women, how we are going to create a safe environment for women? And next one is political. See, when the population of India is going to grow, then certain states are going to be powerful and certain states are going to be weak. And those who are today powerful may politically become weak. Let me give you an example. Tamil Nadu, right? So Tamil Nadu is very powerful, more prosperous, but the population of Tamil Nadu is going down. The population of Gujarat is going down. So eventually what would happen, that the seats in the parliament from these developed states would go down. And since there would be more population in less developed states like UP, Bihar, so on and so forth, right? They may have more political seats. So their political cloud would be more. So how to handle it, right? And there would be a tussle, right? Because for these states, urbanization would not be that easy, right? The last thing that I want to share, that we have two choices. One is whatever is urban, we make it more urban. We increase the size of city. And second is creating new cities. I think the first one is not going to work. Right? We just can't. And it has happened with Delhi. We were just increasing Delhi, right? And we never focused on NCR that way. So everybody wanted to come to Delhi, and Delhi has become, a modern metropolitan slum, right? So we need to create at least 30 more cities, right? Which would be vertical, which would be technological, which would be focusing on right kind of industries, right? So these are some of the challenges And I think since I'm not from your background, I'm not the best person to give you any solution. Probably, as a lay citizen, I can just raise the questions. And I was trying to raise questions. And I wish all the best for the discussion that you are going to have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our chief guest for today, Dr. D.S. Meshram, is currently the Vice President for Commonwealth Association of Planners since 2017. He was a member of various national and international committees on urban development. He has handled a number of master plans, including Auroville Universal Township. He authored over 60 research papers published in accredited journals. He also co-authored the book titled as Urban Regional Planning Education, Learning for India. He was also responsible for preparation of urban development plan formulation and implementation guidelines, which were prepared at the behest of Ministry of Urban Development, Government of India. He has participated in various national and international conferences and seminars. We would now like to invite our chief guest, Dr. D.S. Meshram, to please come on stage and deliver the keynote address.
Respected Shri Dr. Anup Singh Ji, Director General, Nirma University, Professor Utpal Sharma, Director, Institute of Architecture and Planning, Nirma University, Guest of Honor, Hitesh Vaidyaji, online, of course, Director, National Institute of Arts and Technologies, and then, of course, dignitaries on the dais. Professor Utpal Sharma has raised so many issues, and so also by the Dr. Anup Singh Ji. And if we start discussing, perhaps the whole conference is required to be focused on only these issues. But then our task is very easy because we have got a decided agenda to be discussed. So I will not elaborate on the issues raised by honorable speakers, those who came earlier to me. But then Professor Utpal has raised the three issues which perhaps requires to be addressed, and we will be addressing the conference. I will also throw some light on that also. He said that the beautiful plans have been prepared in the India, but they are not implemented on the ground. It is very easy to say that we have prepared a plan, but they are not implemented on the ground. But then why? What is the reason? Why it has not been implemented? Because the procedure of the preparation of the development plan is under the statute of the respective states. If it is prepared under the statute and it has been approved by the government, it has been participated by the people, why it is not coming on the ground? That is the million-dollar question required to be addressed and discussed. If it is not possible to implement, why the hell we are preparing the plans and all this thing? If we don't prepare the plans, whether the sky is coming to go down. If that is so, and once having prepared the plans which are statutory, then definitely it is required to be implemented. And why it is not implemented? Because there are so many stakeholders, those who are coming from the different disciplines, different areas, different arenas, and the financial requirements which are required to be implemented, which are required for the implementation of the development plans, are not generated from the town, but the allocations are made at the central level under Urban Development Ministry. So that is the reason why there are different agencies, different resources for the implementation of the plans, and that is why the plans are not coming on the ground. The second issue he raised, which is again the important, because we are in the educational institutions, that we are producing the planners, and there is a demand and supply, that more planners are required. That is okay, fine. And the institutions are doing their best to produce the planners, to educate them, to train them so that they can take up the job. But then once they come in the market, where are the job opportunities for them? On one hand, demand is much more, but when they come to the market, jobs are not there. Then there has to be the balance between the demand and supply, and that is what is required to be done. In addition to that, there are some other issues that if we produce the more planner and if they are not going to get the job, then what happens to them? And that is why I'm going to throw light only on the two issues, that is urban planning and of course the capacity building. As far as this particular conference is concerned, there are the four verticals. That is urban planning. Second vertical is the resilience. Third one is the nature-based solutions. And fourth one is the capacity building. So I will throw some light on the urban planning because I myself being a planner, having worked almost for the 60 to 70 years in the planning profession. And of course, have also worked as a teacher because I started my career as a teacher in the Guru Nanak Dev University, which is going to celebrate 50 years of their existence tomorrow, and I will be dashing from here to the Amritsar. So I will be very brief as far as my presentation is concerned. But there is one issue which has been raised by Dr. Anup Singh, that is regarding the planning of the Delhi. I think I should not start, but I'm getting tempted to say a few words on that because he raised the issue of the National Capital Region Planning Board also. Well, gentlemen, everybody talks about the Delhi. Everybody says about the problems of the Delhi. But have we ever considered the positive aspects of the Delhi also? When we prepared the plan of the Delhi in the year 1961-62, at that time, what was the condition for the preparation of the development plan? At that time, there was not the best plan was available in the country. I'm not saying that the maps were not available. The maps were prepared by the Survey of India, but what was the scale of that particular plan? That scale was 1:2.50,000. That is 2.5 lakhs was the scale. In that particular scale, it is really possible to really mark the building. If I draw the one line by my knee, it give the 500 feet on the ground. In that circumstances where the maps are not available, where the technology was not, I am talking about the story of the 1961. When we prepared the first plan of the Delhi, all these latest technologies were not available, remote sensing was not available, topo sheets only were available, but it was not possible to have the scale of that topo sheet for the preparation of the master plan of the development plan, for which you require the scale of 1:2000 or maybe 1:1000. That was not available, sir. That is what is required to be seen. At that time, what was available to me was only the map prepared by the Patwaris and how much havoc Patwari can create or play, that you can understand. Those who are planners, they can definitely understand that, and that was the particular problem. After that, when we went for the economic survey and social survey, as far as the old city of the Delhi is concerned, it was so congested, it was not possible. I still remember the days my guys used to go to the Chandni Chowk with this chain survey in the morning, and they will come back in the evening with so many information which are not at all possible really, and that map will be maybe around this particular size of the room. Can you conceive that, sir? In addition to that, we have planned, because when we prepare a plan, there are two aspects we take into the consideration. I'm sorry I'm elaborating on that. Kindly bear with me because a very important issue has been raised. Well, when we plan a development plan, we take into the consideration only two aspects. Sorry, I have not prepared a presentation and all this thing. I was going to talk on the specific issues concerned with that, but in between this particular issue has come. Now, we take into the consideration only two aspects, that we project the population because we prepare a plan for 20 to 25 years. Okay, and for that particular population, what will be the land requirement? These are the two basic issues when we prepare the development plan. When we prepare a development plan, at that time, my projections, I project a population, and then accordingly we develop the area. Now that projected population, when I project that, and when certain decisions are taken at the political level for conducting the Asiad, for conducting the Olympics, for conducting the games in the Delhi, for which Delhi is not meant, kindly keep it in the mind. And one fine morning, 10,000 people in the service population migrate from the other states for the construction activities, means one metropolitan town just added in the Delhi in one day. Then what happens to the projected population? Have we even taken into consideration this particular thought? Well, gentlemen, there are so many issues as far as the National Capital Region is concerned. Sir, we have proposed, because it is not possible to really develop or the plan new towns, hardly in the last 60 to 70 years, we could have planned hardly 10 or 15 new towns. Only otherwise, it is just the extensions of the existing town. Delhi, New Delhi, like that. All the extensions of the towns have been taken care because land is not available. Secondly, Professor Uppal has already said, for the development of the new town, if you have to acquire the land, it is very difficult nowadays to acquire the land. To my mind, it is not at all possible to acquire the more land. That is for the new towns and all these things. That is the first aspect. And then secondly, what are the resources in terms of the financial resources, whether that particular thing is available or not. And that is why what we have done, as far as the National Capital Region Planning Board is concerned, we have identified the ring towns because the population from the neighboring states is migrating to the Delhi, and we just cannot check the population coming to the Delhi. I myself don't belong to the Delhi. I migrated from the Maharashtra, and I cannot say that once I enter the Delhi, second Meshram will not enter. That is not possible as far as the democratic setup is concerned. And then what do you do? In that circumstances, we have selected the ring towns. We call it as a ring town so that we provide the required inputs in the ring town, so the people don't get tempted to come to the Delhi. They should not be tempted. They should provide that facilities in the ring town so that we can check the population. Anyway, I would like to stop at that particular issue is concerned at this particular state. These four verticals, out of which the first vertical is the urban planning, and second one is the capacity building. These two issues I would like to touch. I'm not going to go to the depth of these particular issues, but then I would like to share some information on this, which appears to be me very logical. The first one is that two very important reports have recently come relevant with the urban planning and of course the capacity building. First one is the National Education Policy 2020. That is by the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. And second report, which has come very recently, 2021, that is on the reforms in urban planning capacity of India. Both reports are very important and required to be discussed and deliberated. But then I would like to slightly give you this some information about the past, present, and future as far as the planning is concerned. As far as the planning is concerned, kindly recall the days when the Mohenjo-daro and Harappa was developed, when the Indus Valley civilization was flourished in 2500 BC. At that time, well-laid roads were there, drainage system was also there. What does it mean? It means that the planning education at that time was in a very advanced stage. Because the education, you cannot plan all this thing, and that is what the thing, that was the issue as far as the past is concerned. But when I started searching for the early 50s, we realized that there was not even a single school of planning which is imparting town and country planning education in our country. I am telling you the story of the 1950. And also there was no town and country planning departments at that time, and that is why the 15 town planners, those were there, all of them were studied abroad because there was not the schools. They found the Institute of Town Planners India in the year 1951, and this institute, the four founders had decided that we have to create the school of planning in our country. We have to create the town and country planning department, and they started convincing to the government at that time to start the school of planning. And the first school of planning, after the persuasion of the 5 years, came in the year 1955 in the form of the School of Town and Country Planning in the year 1955, and also Town and Country Planning Organization at the national level also came in the year 1955 actually. But then the architecture department of the Government Polytechnic of the Delhi in the year 1955 merged with the School of Town and Country Planning, and then the present School of Town and Country Town Planning and Architecture came to the existence in the year 1959. In the meantime, I'm just slightly giving the background so that you can appreciate what is the present national education policy, because at that time there was no schools of the planning. That is the first thing. There was no town and country planning department. Second thing, and that is why ITP has taken a lead to establish this particular school, which has been established in the year 1955. After that, we have also understood that we have to start the urban, that is undergraduate level planning courses, and we again started convincing to this state government officials, and in the year 1988, The Bachelor of Planning course was started. Again, that is by the School of Planning and Architecture. Then we have taken up the issues with the starting the integrated town planning course leading to the Bachelor of Planning and leading and to the Master of Planning, and which has been taken by the Nirma Institute also and the School of Planning and Architecture as well. For the students, those who are employed and they are not in a position to attend the regular classes in the year 1953, now we are talking about the distance education. I am telling you the story of the distance education which has been taken by the Institute of Town Planners India in the year 1953. We started the course online. Of course, the distance education at that time, online courses were not available through the distance education. That is known as the associateship examination of the Institute of Town Planners India. That was made at par by the Board of Assessment of the Government of India in 1963 for the students, those who cannot really attend the regular classes, and that is what has been done in the year 1953. We also accredited the schools of planning and architecture, IITs, universities, colleges, and there are at present, in the year 1951, there was not even a single school in our country. We have got today 77 schools of planning, those who are imparting the town and country planning education, including the Nirma University. That is the Institute of Architecture and Planning, one of the leading institutions as far as imparting the town and country planning education is the Nirma University, sir, under the stewardship of Dr. Anup Singh, Director General of the Nirma University, and of course, Professor Utpal Sharma having the lion's share as far as the starting the planning institution is concerned. Well, these are the issues. With this background, I will like to now take up the national education policy. As far as the national education policy is concerned, they say that the education is to be imparted to everybody, each one of the each one of our country, and that is what the intention is. They have also taken into the consideration SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, specifically the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which reads, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities to all. This has been also taken into the consideration. But this being the policy, specifically not focusing on the any one of the discipline, but overall education policy. As you are aware today, as far as the humanities are concerned, undergraduate course is of the 3 years, postgraduate course is of the 2 years. So total takes for the 5 years. That is what the humanities is concerned. As far as the professional and technical courses are concerned, it takes 4 years for the undergraduate program and 2 years for the postgraduate program. Now, in this background, what the suggestions, what are the recommendations of the national education policy, which is going to have the gravity on not only on the town and country planning education, but also on the architecture discipline. Okay. Please stop me whenever you want. You consider that I'm going out of the track. Anyway, well, as far as the national education policy is concerned, I'm not going to cover the total national education policy, but two important aspects, very important aspect. First one is the undergraduate program. And I would like to correlate this undergraduate program with the town and country planning education, that what will be the effects of this national education policy. They are saying that the various exit avenues should be there as far as the undergraduate program is concerned, and they are saying that the undergraduate program should be of the 3 to 4 years with multidisciplinary approach. They have also said that once a student completes 1 year, then there should be exit and he should be issued a certificate. Now, once I issue the certificate, he is not at all a town planner. He has not even grasped what is the town planning is. So after the exit of the 1 year, what he is going to do in the planning profession? Where he is going to get the job as far as the first year certificate is concerned. So what is the validity of the first year certificate? Then they have given the option that after 2 years, they should be given a diploma. Okay, after giving the diploma after the 2 years, then what kind of the job he is going to get? Where are the job opportunities for the student, those who are completing 2 years at the undergraduate program. So today there are no qualifications prescribed as this. That is why it calls for changing, amending recruitment rules of the state governments and the central governments also. But once you give the diploma, to my mind, this is my proposal, can they not be deployed as a planning draftsman, which is also available in the architecture as an architectural draftsman? So after completing 2 years, that particular diploma, they should get the job of the planning draftsman. After completing 3 years, they are suggesting that we should give the degree. Now, what is the validity of the degree? Because after completing 4 years also, you are giving the degree. So what is the difference between the third year degrees and the fourth year degree? So I really don't understand. But then once you give the degree at the third year, let us call it as an intermediate degree. This is what my proposal is. We are going to take up with the government. So intermediate degree, if you give that after completion of the 3 years, then he may be considered as a planning assistant. After 4 years completion, then what happens? Then he should be given the assistant town planner job. I am saying when the product comes out of the educational institutions, unless and until they find the job in the profession in the market, they may not be attracted for doing the planning courses, and that is why we have to take a conscious decision where they are going to get the employment. The same situation again prevailing as far as the master level courses are concerned. They are saying that that should be of the 2 years, but yet that can be given after completion of the 1 year also. 2 years master plan course will be for the candidate, those who have done the degree of the 3 years at the undergraduate level. So what is the duration? 3 plus 2, it works out 5 years. Then they have said that it can be 1 year master program also for the candidates, those who have done 4 years degree. So what is the total duration? 5 years. Then and they are also saying that the integrated course also can be started. What is the duration? Duration is of the 5 years. Then what is the difference between the present system and the present time? Today, it is of the 4 years undergraduate level programs and 2 years of the postgraduate program. That is why we have started the program, integrated program, which is of the 5 years. After the 4 years completion, then he may get the exit with the degree of the undergraduate degree of the urban planning, and after completion of the 5 years, he get the that particular degree. In addition to that, they have wanted to totally channelize, regulate the whole education system of the India, and they have given 4 verticals. I will not enter into that particular 4 verticals, but I will leave at that particular thing. As far as the distance education, distant learning program is concerned, I already said that the Institute of Town Plans has already taken into consideration this particular aspect in the year 1953. Well, then we will throw some light as far as the report of the reforms in urban planning capacity in India. This is the report of the Niti Aayog, which came in 2021, which is a very important. They have also taken into the consideration the urban figures have already been given by Professor Utpal. The population in the 2011 was 1,210 million, 1,210 million in 2011, out of which 31.1% was the urban, that is 377 million was the urban population. And by 2027, we are going to be the most populous country in the world. So you can imagine the present problems and what are the problems we are going to face in the year 2021 when we become the most populous country as far the world is concerned. In addition to that, there are 640 districts and there are more than 6 lakhs villages for which, according to the 73rd and the 74th constitutional amendments, we are required to prepare the development plan. In the year 2021, as far the registered planners is concerned, in the Institute of Town Planners was hardly 7,000, while the number of the towns according to the 2011 census was 7,935. It means indirectly there was not even a single town planner available in the country for one town. If only one town planner is to be employed in a town, the town number was 7,935, and at that time the number of the planners available with the institute was 7,000. So this is what the scenario. What United Nations has to say, United Nations Habitat in their report on the World Cities report has said the very grim ratio of the town planners in our country, that is 0.23 for 1 lakh population. This is not my figure. This is the popular figures of the United Nations. As far as the Nigeria is concerned, it is 1.14 planner for 1 lakh population, while in India it is 0.23. As far as the UK is concerned, it is 38 planners for 1 lakh population. So this is what the ratio availability of the planner in our country is there. Niti Aayog has also calculated what will be the total requirement of the 2021 of the town and country planners, and they have said that the total requirement for the 2021 will be 12,213 by 2021. We already crossed 2021, while the availability of the planner and post available in the town and country planning departments only, we are not talking about the requirement of the town and country planners throughout the country. That is only 3,945, out of which 42% was lying vacant. And some of the posts are manned by the persons, those who are not qualified town and country planners. This was the scenario, and they have said that to meet the requirement of the 2021, the additional post of the 8,268 planners is required to be created. That is what they have said. And then Niti Aayog has specifically observed 2 or 3 issues which I would read for you, because I wanted that it should be communicated in their own words. The Niti Aayog observed that town planning profession is still largely misinterpreted as an extension of other fields, maybe the like architecture, maybe the engineering or other disciplines also. This leads to the inconsistent qualification criteria for jobs in the public and private sectors. Therefore, concerted action is required to bring in structure, professionalism, and therefore recommended to create the National Council of Town and Country Planners at the national level as a statutory body. And then they have also said that all the vacant posts are required to be filled up, and they have also recommended that the recruitment rules what are present today by the state governments and the central governments are required to be changed. These are the recommendations of this particular this particular body, which is the apex body of the Niti Aayog. And they have also said that as far as the professionalism is concerned, the institute, those who are learning institute, they should take the lead. I will stop over here. Thank you, Professor Uppal, giving me the opportunity. Grateful to you, and to you, Sir Director General. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We request all the dignitaries to please take their seats among the audience. Our second keynote speaker, Dr. Hitesh Vedya, will be delivering the address on. Dr. Hitesh Vaidya, Director of NIUA, has more than 20 years of broad-based urban development policy, project formulation, implementation, and program management experience on mainly UN, World Bank, US Agency for International Development assignments. The areas he has been associated are urban development, urban governance, and urban infrastructure management. Poverty alleviation has been an integral component in all the projects. Prior to joining as Director of National Institute of Urban Affairs, he was the country representative of the UN Habitat in India. He was a part of the team supporting in design and rolling out national urban flagship missions in India. We now invite Sir to kindly deliver his address. Sir, can you please unmute? We are not able to hear.
Okay, now can I hear me? Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay. Great. Thank you very much for inviting me for this conference. I'm very pleased to Institute of Architecture and Planning of Nirma University for your invitation to this very important conference. Professor D.S. Meshram is there, Dr. Anup Singh ji is there, Professor Utpal Singh, all great stalwarts, and speaking after Professor D.S. Meshram itself is a tall order. I hope I will be able to make justice and deliver the note as per the, playing after such a, talking after such a great stalwart is a very difficult thing to do. But again, thank you very much again for inviting me. It's also a coincidence that this meeting is happening in Ahmedabad. And it is the first meeting happening in Ahmedabad because Ahmedabad is the host city for Urban 20 under the G20 presidency of India. So it's a great coincidence that Ahmedabad and Nirma University are really starting the urban discourse, which will be actually shown or showcased as a business card of in urban discussions to the broader G20 deliberations happening. So I congratulate Nirma University to take that lead in initiating the first urban dialogue under the U20 umbrella of G20 presidency of the Government of India. And now, while Professor Meshram has talked about planning and future of urban and role of planners, uh, I'll restrict myself to a couple of big, what you call big goals which we are setting up for ourselves. The big goals we are setting us, we will move towards the net zero by 2070. US has said we will move uh, net zero 2050. China said we will do 2060. India said we will move net zero 2070. And while we are all talking about this, for me, and but again, we are moving from visible to invisible. We don't know what will be the net zero city look like. We are moving from the tangible results to intangible outcomes. And what are those pathways while we are moving from visible to invisible, from tangible to intangible? How do we really work towards this goals? And Mr. Meshram did talk about 1961 master plan and what 2022 Delhi is. It's exactly the same scenario which we are moving. So what is the role of think tanks, universities like Nirma and other institutions or think tanks like NIUA or organizations like ITPI? What we are doing in this whole exercise is we are creating those patterns. We are developing the patterns, how things are happening. We are trying to see where the momentum is going, how the momentum thinks, what types of those pathways which can we really develop for ourselves, which shows us that path, what that invisible will look like. And our role is to join those dots, to join, observe the change which is happening and present it through our research, through our findings, through our policy dialogues. And that is what we all are doing. In India, as you all know, we have had NDCs where we have done national commitments, which were like raise the non-fossil fuel-based energy capacity to 500 gigawatt, reduce the total projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons, carbon neutral and achieve net zero emissions by 2070. 50% of the country's energy requirement would be met using renewable energy sources. Carbon intensity of economy to reduce to less than 45%. While these looks of big numbers and big goals, the question for all our urban planners is, what is there for urban planner to do it? How an urban planner can really start thinking about it. If it is 50% energy requirement by renewable energy, then how do we really contribute to this goal? Do we meet towards the solar energy? Our buildings should be equipped with those solar transformation. How do we start thinking about this movement for the solar energy transmission? How can our buildings be more green so that we can reduce the carbon intensity to less than 45% by 2030? What are the energy efficient municipal services are required to meet these challenges? How do we start looking at energy efficient municipal services? What are those skill sets now we require within our planning curriculum, within our planning thinking, within our planning discourse to move towards that. And last is we all talk about if we have to do reduce the green gas house emissions, then how do we move towards the low carbon mobility? These were the topics. And when I was thinking about these topics and talk about again also zero waste cities. I remember when I was a student in a planning, these were none of them were taught to us. These were not in our curriculum. These have been learned during our practice. We have also equipped ourselves in made those skill sets. We don't have even enough in Indian research on some of these topics. When we start reading about these topics, only the course which we realize either the Western professors have done the research, European professors, very little Indian research has happened in this scenario. So how do we really create, because people talk what to do, why to do, how to do. But question which we need to do, who is the person who is going to do it? It is going to be the skill people at the urban local body level. So how do you bring this new thinking, new change, a new skill set in that mindset, as well as equip these urban local bodies with the new who will really manage, which is the young leaders from the which we are all our universities, all our think tanks are producing. How do you equip them with this new knowledge, which is more contextualized, most Indianized, most workable, and most implementable to within the Indian context to take this forward? And as Professor Meshram already talked about 2021 and 2017, what the situation of planning professionals within our countries. And I know we may not be able to change that scenario very soon, but the question is either we change the scenario or we wait for the scenario to change, or we start equipping ourselves to start moving towards it and create those scenarios so that we start working towards it. And that is the role. I will come back that as a National Institute of Urban Affairs, we are trying to really nudge states, cities, and work with the different type of stakeholders like partners like Nirma University and all, to really nudge states and cities towards that new business model, which we need to really move forward to meet these challenges, meet these requirements or expectations, so that the journey or transformation path which we are going to take towards this net zero. Because while saying a net zero, a lot of these effects will happen in the structural as well as operational efficiencies which we bring into the urban local bodies. And as an NIUA, we are looking at 7 approaches to meet this scenario or to nudge state and cities. And these 7 approaches, because there are problems, but there are also solutions. First problem we always talk about is there's no data. While we are talking about net zero, where is the data? Are our cities prepared for net zero? So first thing which we did within NIU is let's look at data for decision making. And then what we did was we went and looked at 126 cities across the country and looked at, are you prepared for net zero? What level of preparedness you are for net zero? So we have now the data of 126 cities, which can help us to create scenarios, to create the pathways, to create the roadmaps, to move towards net zero. And that is how we can then start now looking at the thing. We are creating a data repositories, making it available to masses. And now with 126 cities this year, we are moving to 250 cities. We are also working on lot of data collection coming from urban outcome, because we feel the first thing to make these changes to move towards this new efficient ways or move to a net zero is a data point. Second thing is, once you have a data and you start creating inferences, then how these inferences or this outcomes are really influence your planning instrument, which is your master plans, your legal instruments, which is your building bylaws and others, and also create a frameworks and options and choices for the cities to make what direction they are in. So idea is to how do you look at vertical and horizontal linkages within the cities? Because while you are talking, we all talk about net zero and climate, and these are big subject. Climate can be interpreted in different way. We are using the climate and other dialogue with the language of the cities, and that's one thing, is that right now what we are doing, the language of planning, the language of climate has to be language of cities. And what we have looked at is, we have brought down the climate into a granularity of 5 broad areas. One is urban planning, which is the day-to-day operation of urban local bodies. Second is on mobility and air quality. Third is water management, waste management, and fifth is green buildings and air. So we are looking at data and preparedness of cities in this, coming up with the idea, and how do you equip cities to move towards, if you want to move from Maruti 800 driver to start driving Jaguar in 10 years, then you have to equip the driver also to that scenario, that he can drive Jaguar efficiently. If you give a truck driver to start driving a Jaguar, you know what the condition of Jaguar will be, or what condition of driver will be. So that's the idea where we are creating that ecosystem. Third area where we are working is, we have huge knowledge, and Professor Mishram already talked about huge knowledge, huge area. But the question which we are, how do you convert this knowledge into action? And that's, for that, to have a tools, you have to have a templates, which are minimum viable products which we can increase, and then the cities can scale it. And in NIU, while we do a project does not really make us much more excited. What excites us is, based on that project, how I can create a scenario which has a scale up capacity of 4,000 urban local bodies, or 7,000 urban local bodies, which Professor Mishram talked about. So how do you create that, bridge the gap between the knowledge and action, and how do you equip cities with the tools and templates to move towards that? Fourth area, which we are saying, is that, we all cannot do the business as usual approach, where we can build the capacities from face-to-face interactions and all. We have to have a technologies and platform where the messages can be scaled up to a larger audience much better. And utilization of that technological platforms is an important aspect of moving forward. So how do you harness the potential of technology to scale up? NIO is creating a platform like National Urban Digital Mission, which is at least start giving a similar type of standard services, and we all talk about in the same language. What I understand by property tax collection in Ahmedabad, I understand the same language of property tax collection in Uttar Pradesh also, because every time the way our building bylaws and other things written, every state has a different, at least a minimum viable understanding of each SLA, what is expected, can be standardized, and then everybody can customize based on that. So we are creating those standard formats on each of the deliverables expected from our local bodies, and see how those can be then technologically equipped with that. Next area where I think Professor Mishram did talk about is capacities, and we all know the capacities is a big challenge, and that who has to be capacitated, and that if who has to capacitate, again we need to start really looking at one NIUA, one ITPI will not work. We need hundreds of ITPIs, we need hundreds of things, or we have to create the grid of universities or grid of capacity institutes together. We have to have a academia and the practitioners work together so as to move forward, and these capacities has to be capacities at the go, not that general just a tick mark of capacities. But if as a commissioner I require a capacity of procurement, I should have a pool where I can go, this is the capacity this is the answer I require, and I should be able to get that. And that level of capacity, if we have to work on it, it requires a lot of hard work, a lot of thinking of a lot of aggregation of minds of universities like Nirma University and other think tanks to put together how do we really bring that capacity grid within the country, that everybody should not make on their own capacity tools or own capacity modules, but we start working together and start moving in a very systematic way of looking at it. At NIU, we are trying to work on it. We have looked at ourselves, like how do we move from classes to masses, and how do we really use these platforms, these technologies, so that knowledge can then be transmitted, not only from a dissemination of knowledge from center to cities, but how knowledge from cities can then come back to the platform, and the platforms get equipped with the latest knowledge. And also that's the tools we are trying to develop and working on it. And I hope that's one approach where we are building the capacities. And sixth area which we are working about is none of us, and I admit it, we all are finding out this transformation pathways, but none of us have on our own answers to a lot of these challenges, a lot of these movements which are required to create that approach, which is we all say business of as usual approach to a new approach. But what that new approach will be has to come through a collective mind, through aggregation of minds. So we have to develop a lot of partnership models. And IUA, we have done one model of academia and practice partnerships called SAR. It is called Smart Cities Academia Association with Research and Planning. And I will request, encourage a lot of students to start working with that type of a model and create that new pathway can be developed jointly together, so that we can not only, the idea is let's have Indian use cases and Indian case studies available, and maybe next 5 years our students start quoting our own case studies, our own research, rather than just depending on the findings of the research that UN says this or this says this, but what India's urban think tank, what India's urban universities are thinking, what their research is saying. That becomes much more powerful tool than just depending on the Western research. Because I also feel, and that's my personal belief, that while we have been 70 years learning that ABC from the Western world, India has graduated. And we have to now have a capacities that we can teach ABCs to others. And if people have XYZ beyond XYZ to teach us, then they are welcome. But otherwise, general ABC, we have also equipped, and we are equipped enough, because the complexity and scale, the way we have handled our situations, I think we should not be too harsh on ourselves, but we have excelled ourselves much better in the given situation than any other country would have had done it. So I feel very proud the way we have achieved. There are problems, there are challenges, nobody denied, but it's not that huge that we should be too harsh on ourselves. Because even if I look at this 126 cities findings which we did a recent survey which I talked about, I was so thrilled with 126 cities. 65 cities have currently meeting the green cover requirements of more than 12% as prescribed by URDFPI guidelines. 38 cities have formulated strategies and allocated budgets for conservation and rejuvenation of water bodies. 35 cities have initiated the development of city disaster management plan. 30 cities have initiated the vulnerability in assessment and GHG inventories to inform their climate action plans. 87 cities have some form of air quality monitoring stations in their cities. And you go on reading and then you start feeling that why should I be, I need to strengthen the capacities that more and more cities become a part of this moment. And we create those tools and templates that we bring more cities on board and create that pathway towards that invisibility, rather than being too harsh on ourselves. And lastly, which I particularly feel, and I think Nirma universities and are doing a great job, is how do we build young leaders for the future? As I said, I am at the age of 34. We have given up. Our generation, if it has failed the planet, and the public has failed, I do admit that the planet which we received from our forefathers or our parents is not the planet we are going to give it to you, to the young leaders back. And I think I don't feel that they have to now equip, and that's a role of us to give that excitement to the young leaders, so they start feeling proud to be associated with the city issues and city challenges, and that's the onus on us to equip them with that knowledge and all those things. So we, as an NIU, we have started a lot of smart city fellowship programs, thesis competitions, photography competitions, innovation challenges, climate practitioners network. Idea is involve young leaders, youth, and equip them and excite them to be a part of this urban discourse journey, which again is going to be the future of city is going to be the future of the countries, and they will be the at the forefront of meeting those urban challenges or climate challenges which have been we all are facing. So there are a lot of good work happening, and IUA as a think tank is working on these 7 approaches to equip or to take that pathway to so that urban local bodies or cities who are in charge of the urban discourse in the country can start working towards it. And I think all of us have to really join hands. I always say that while we might have failed in segregation of waste, we should definitely be able to succeed in aggregation of minds. And with that note, I thank again for such a great conference under the U20 presidency of Ahmedabad, as well as G20 presidency of India, that Nirma University is looking. And I look forward to this whole presidency discourse which will take place in Ahmedabad from 7th, 9th, 10th February to the end of year. We will see a lot of association with the Ahmedabad University and their students to really make show to the world that it is not only that we can learn from the outside world, but we also have a lot to show to the world outside, and world has and I think also take pride that India has come and we can showcase our success stories to the world at large. So with that, I thank you for giving me an opportunity and inviting me for this wonderful workshop. Wish you all the best and success for the workshop. Thank you.
Sir, Professor Caleb. I request Utpal sir to felicitate Parthasati sir.
The Institute of Architecture and Planning, Nirma University, organized the first international conference on Future is Urban, Livability, Resilience, and Resource Conservation from December 16 to December 18, 2021. This conference was enriched with the deliberations and august presence of leading scholars, academicians, and experts from across the globe in the field of urban planning, urban design, and architecture. 110 papers were presented in 27 thematic parallel sessions at ICFU 21, with internationally acclaimed keynote speakers and eminent experts from academia as session chairs. All sessions saw large participation from students, academia, and professionals. With a stringent double-blind peer review process in place, conference proceedings are being published by the Routledge Group.
Today we have with us Dr. R. Parthasarathi, who is the professor and director of Gujarat Institute of Development Research, Ahmedabad. He was earlier a professor at the Faculty of Planning, CEPT University, Ahmedabad. Till recently, he was leading the Mega Center at GIDR as Mega Chair that worked closely with the Gujarat Metro Rail Corporation in the setting up of Metro Rail in Ahmedabad. He has co-authored and co-edited many books and has published extensively. I now invite Parthasarthi sir for the book launch, and I also invite Dr. Aparna for the book launch on stage.
Thank you, everyone. We would now like to inform you all that there are 5 individual technical sessions after this, 2 offline and 3 online. The offline sessions will be conducted in the auditorium and room 102, while the online ones in the conference room, library, and room 202, starting at 11:40. We will meet again in the auditorium at 2:40 p.m. for a presentation by Dr. N. Ranganath.
We can now head towards a short 10-minute break and then join the individuals.
I'm requesting Dr. Parthasarthi, we've compiled, help us compile the document. Speaker, please.
Thank you, Professor Utpal Sharma. Thanks to Nirma University. And I had the great pleasure and privilege to work on this conference as well as the outcome which you have just released. Many of the discussions that we had this morning actually ran through our head about a year and a half before the date when we are discussing about how to get over this. And that's where you would see the title of this as well as the earlier one as Future is Urban. It ends like a question mark, but then last year we addressed some of the issues like livability, resilience, and resource conservation. This time we have different themes. And how did it come about and why we had this kind of discussion was basically to address some of the issues that we were discussing this morning. We are also enthused by seeing that in the Indian Planning Commission had something called as a perspective planning division. While there were 5-year plans conceptualized, we had a perspective planning division doing it for 20 to 25 years. And that was on a rolling model. And therefore, the planning in India, it also encompassed some part of spatial planning, but largely physical plans, but did encompass how it has to be dynamic. So you can very well imagine every year some new dynamic elements will be added. We thought that as part of the research that urban students and planners as well as architects are doing, something related to that would be very useful. And therefore, under the 3 verticals that we had last year, we had issues ranging from architecture, regional identity, socio-cultural aspects, and ecological under the space society. And we also had environmental areas, urban environment and related aspects. So we also had ecology separately, environment and climate change to address many of the forthcoming issues, and the design and urban planning issues as well. Why did we do it? So again, we asked the question, future is urban. So if urban population crosses 50%, what does it mean? It also means that there is some portion which is left, which is not completely rural as how the rural was 50 years back. So we took into account many of these papers we had was including the migrants and the migration. So which would make us to look at the urban rural nexus as it were, from the perspective of production process, from the perspective of markets, from the perspective of infrastructure and logistics, which were related. As how you would see in many of the foreign countries, somebody mentioned US, out of 80-20, the 20% which is living in the non-urban areas, I won't call it as rural, does not really mean that they're deprived and they were in a position as how we were some years back. And therefore, what stood out after the elaborate process that my colleague was mentioning, that the urban areas, while it require new look and fresh perspectives from the various issues that we are talking about, would also need some sort of multidisciplinarity in both the outlook as well as approach. So that I think Nirma University brought it out in great strength. And probably instead of simply focusing on planning and simply focusing on architecture, we thought that probably the future lies in, say, a Center for Urban Studies, which would help integrate all this and take many of the things that we heard in the morning forward. Now, a little bit about the book that we have just released. There were about 250 abstracts that came. About a year and a half of work that we had. Around 120 to 125 presentations actually took place. And in this volume, you have 69 papers. And another paper, another 20 are to come out as the edited volume, all by Routledge. And the numbers, as I say, would really showcase that a serious double-blind referee process took place. That's only one part. But more importantly, there were multiple exchanges on the various aspects, including in the end, there were English language editing professionally done. And the fact that we walked through all this is shown by Routledge coming forward to publish it. Normally, you would say that Routledge doesn't come into this. And all this has happened to date in exactly 1 year. Last December 16th, the first conference took place, and today you are releasing this from Routledge, and very soon we'll be having the book. So I am duty bound, and I'm really privileged to thank Dr. Anup Singh, the Vice President of the University, Dean Utpal Sharma and his team, including all the faculty members who are here, and especially Aparna, who has co-edited this. And I'm really, really happy to share this volume with the wider audience. And I'm very sure that it will be a thought-provoking process towards what we just discussed, all these issues, that if you look at in a perspective plan, there should be answers and solutions. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm greatly honored. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. We can now head towards a short 10-minute break, and then we can start joining the individual session.